Wouldn't we all just like to rip up our tax bill? Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. This is this game. Short version, I really love this. I really love this. And I'm now genuinely excited for the sequel, Turnip Boy Robs a Bank, coming out next year. This is such a weird game. Okay. So there's what the gameplay is like. There's the art style. There's sort of the undercurrents. And then there's the background of what's going on. I'm trying to think how much I want to say. Look. Gameplay-wise, this, I would say, has a closest resemblance to the older style Zelda games, the top-down view. So your original Zelda, your Link to the Past, Minish Cap, those sorts of games. It bears the closest mechanical gameplay resemblance to those, with a lower emphasis on the combat than Zelda usually had. So you have that perspective. You have a number of items in your inventory that you can use, you will get over time. And that includes just a basic weapon and a couple of other things. And you will go about, you'll talk to people, you'll do fetch quests for them, you'll find out what's going on, you'll discover hidden documents and things, and you'll explore the world in general, including some things that are very much in the vein of things like the Lost Woods from Zelda. So that's the mechanical gameplay. The art style is, it's, I don't know, it's kind of pixel chibi art is kind of the general feel of it. It's bright, it's colorful, it's kind of adorable. There's some very dark humor in this. I mean, very dark humor. I think the one thing that I will say that's a little bit of it's not even a criticism, because I don't have a problem with this, but I feel it is worth bringing up. For what the game charges, for what it costs for the game, which is about $15, it's about a 4-hour game to pretty much see everything. Like I've unlocked every achievement aside from one that has a randomized element, and I didn't feel like grinding to try and get that. But I've seen 2 different versions of sort of the finale and the climax. I've gotten pretty much everything, and it was about 4.5 hours. If you feel like $15 is too much for that amount of time, that's your call. I will say that I had such a great time in those 4 hours. I am not upset at all with my purchase. I'm really happy with it, to be completely honest with you. So that's about the one thing I'll say. Now, in terms of the plot, and in terms of the title, as we start, Turnip Boy, which is your character, who almost never speaks, and there's literally only one occasion when he speaks, or at least says a word. Like, he'll react to things, again, a bit like Link from Zelda. But he has been informed that he has not paid his tax bill, and his home, which is kind of a greenhouse, has just been taken by Mayor Onion. So, like, everybody's a vegetable, or a fruit, or something of that nature. And he has to go out and start doing stuff to try and earn money to get his tax bill paid. That's the starting premise. Where things go from there is, I don't want to spoil that. Okay, well, I do want to spoil it because I want to talk about some of the spoiler stuff. But if between the art style, the opening premise, and the gameplay, if this sounds interesting to you at all, just buy it and play it. It's real fun. It's real fun. I like this a lot. But talking about some of the specific things that happened that I really, really loved are they are spoilery insofar as I would want you to experience these things just happening organically and not know that they're coming. So, here we go. We're now into a spoiler section for a game called Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. All right. So I mentioned some of the dark humor. So the first enemy, quote unquote enemy, that you run into in this game is snails. They're very basic enemies. They walk a set path left to right. You can get around them. Later on, when you get a sword and then later a shovel, you can take them out. You can kill them in one hit. There's even a little mission where there's a snail in this sort of garden, and this, I think he's a blueberry, is sort of complaining, I kind of wish he wasn't there. And what's the natural thing with that setup? Oh, you want me to clear out the enemy creature that's in this area. Cool, I'll do that. And then you do that, and you go and talk to him. He's like, you just murdered him. Why did you do that? Or later on, you really should talk to everybody in this game. You'll run into somebody who's like, I'm studying the animals around here. The snails are actually an endangered species. And I'm like, oh, I've been killing them pretty indiscriminately. And there's not like a morality system in the game. There aren't good or bad endings depending on can you do it's not like Undertale where there's a genocide run and a pacifist run. It's nothing like that. It's just, this is the kind of humor that is sprinkled throughout it. And it's, that kind of stuff is all over the place with this. And then there's the fact that Turnip Boy's, whenever he gets his hands on anything that is paper, whether it is his tax bill, whether it is a wanted poster with his face on it, whether it is a book, whether it is a piece of fan art that somebody in town drew of him as a thank you, the only option that you are given after reading or looking at whatever this is to rip it up. You have literally no other option but to rip it up. And that does mean that sometimes the reaction from people is like, well, why did you do that? And it's like, it's not trying to overly guilt you. It's not built to do that, but it does give you that. There would be moments where I would see whatever document or whatever I got and hold on. I'm like, oh, oh God, I got to tear that up now. Crap, I feel like a jerk. Because Turnip Boy is a little bit of a jerk. Little bit. But then there's the backstory. So, as I said, we're dealing with all these plant and food-based entities, creatures, characters, fruits, vegetables. Later on, you'll actually meet olives on a cocktail stick and a fudge bar. All this stuff. And, there are casual conversations where, people just reference other things, or they tend to, thank the mushrooms, as if they think of God as a mushroom or something. It's funny little stuff until you realize later this is actually a post-apocalyptic world after human beings completely wiped themselves out. When people refer to the mushrooms, they're talking about the mushroom clouds that took out the humans and blanketed the planet with radiation that allowed the plants to become sentient. And my favorite thing is, despite a couple of select areas that are a little bit more moody, spooky kind of thing, the tone of the game as a whole never changes. It's still bright and colorful, and your sprite moves around with this fun little bobble, and you can put different hats on him that sort of wobble around, and you can put cat ears on him, for crying out loud, and it's so cute, and it's adorable, and it's really dark. It's like that contrast between how dark the narrative actually is, and the lore especially, how dark that is, contrasted with the presentation. I love this. I absolutely love this. And it's not crass. The lazy way to do this contrast would be to have it bright and shiny and happy, but they're swearing every alternate word. That get old real quick. But to instead have this awful, horrible, apocalyptic background element that is also impacting some of the current story, if you're paying attention, that it just gives this thing such a feel that I love it. I love this game. I love this game so much. That's kind of it. I think that the way that it plays, it's not mechanically particularly deep, but for the length that it is, it doesn't have to be any deeper than it is. The puzzles and stuff that you get in like the dungeons or whatever, they are just involved enough that you don't immediately look at a room and go, oh, I know exactly what I need to do here. And then you're just box checking as you go through the steps. Like, you will have to pause and, well, if you're like me, you will have to pause and like take a second and go, wait a minute, how do I figure this out? But they're not so difficult that you get frustrated and look up a walkthrough. You're like, oh, this and that and that. There we go. Yeah. And it's just enough to make me feel like I did a little effort to figure out the puzzles, so they feel rewarding, but they're not slowing me down or killing the pace. And this, everything really comes together with this. Really comes together. Like, truly, my only complaint is I wish there was more of it. But there's going to be more of it. There's going to be a sequel next year, and I am jumping on that as soon as it is available. I want more Turnip Boy in my life now. So yeah, Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. I played this on my Twitch stream. There's a link for that down in the description. Oh, it's so fun. Are you familiar with this game? Did you play it? What did you think about it? Are you not familiar and you're stuck through the spoiler section, having now heard it described to you by me? What do you think about that? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Fingers in the wrong place. Drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon is what pays the bills. Also a link for that in the description if for some reason the thing doesn't pull up in the corner. It's not doing it on some platforms lately. Like it's not doing it on mobile platforms reliably right now. I don't know why not. But in any case, any amount you can support me there is what enables me to be able to afford to buy these games and take the time to do things like stream on Twitch, because if I had to hold down a day job, I couldn't do any of that, really. So that is of great help. But even if you can't, like, share, subscribe, that all helps as well. Don't worry too much about it, though. Take a relaxed attitude around here so you can come on back next time you need a break. The mushrooms. End credits, that means I need to shout out my top Patreon supporters. Robin Moore, Zupin Lutfula, Tarak, the thing that goes doink in the anime, Oliver B., Linda Walters, Emu Delkey, Leotha Boyd, Toy Loli, Becky Sparks, Renabulax the Poodle, Zach, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Adam RDL Taylor, Shay Lagourlay, Brendan LaRose, and TT. Thank you so much for your support. You can get your name in the credits too by checking out the rewards on the Patreon. You only tried to eat my earring once this time. That's much better.